that's not like it's
no
huge as well.
How was that trip to the Menawas?
Great, 10 out of 10. It's like
have you been before?
Never, and that is like a place you go. It's totally what you expect it to be. It's like the best place you've been to. Like if you go to say the North Shore as a point of context, you go to the North Shore and you're like, oh man, this is great, but like there's a lot of rain or there's a lot of weird wind, and everything there in the Mentawais is it's perfect. And it honestly is. It's like one wave after another wave after another wave, just ratcheted perfectly. Like the vista's perfect, the water is perfect, the tide was perfect, the wind was perfect, the swell direction, the angle. There's not one component. It's like too much sea lice here.
Right.
I don't like this wave. Too much. I'm serious. That's like the turn off. Oh, this kid's hassling me for more wax. Like, I don't
what
really
made
like
you
that.
go at this point of your life?
I've been asked to go on the same trip with the same cohort of guys for like 8 years, and I just say like, I'm buying a house. We got a baby. There's another baby. There's another baby. So it's just like, this is it.
How did you convince your wife?
Well, it was 3 babies later, and like 8 years, every 2 years, I was like, this is my last chance, basically. So it was just like, we got to do it now.
Is it a physical thing?
What do you mean?
Like performance-wise, like, do you feel like you've ever peaked? You were like,
No.
like
I went nuts. I went like absolute nuts. Like I worked out and swam and took it really seriously and cut back on a lot of things, like less pizza, less Taco Bell, that whole thing. And I made great boards for the trip, and it was a lifetime of it. And I'm like that kind of type. I prepare and I really kind of think it out, and it was just a long time coming. We had great swells, multiple swells. It was great. 2 weeks.
Must have been really fun planning your quiver for it.
It was.
Like,
but it was like done
what
before.
am I going to try? Am I going to be experimental or go with the tried and true? Like,
I did a little of that. I made like a Tommy Kern Bawa fish, like a channel bottom kind of Bawa thing. Yep. And then
fireball.
I rode that for like maybe 2 sessions. The rest of it was just 6-0, 6-6, 6-0, 6-6, and just.
Did you do like the hand thing coming out of the tube that Kern does after Bawa? Like
there was a couple days probably, a couple faintings, yeah. He has a good face plant in that, yeah. Going super fast, which probably hurt.
All right, we got a couple other topics here. How to engage with the local shaper. How is that?
So the problem now for being a local shaper is that the beauty and the beast is the access. Back in the day, it was like you'd have to find the person, go meet them in person, or get a phone number. Yeah. But now there's so many mediums to touch somebody with, which is great because business is like fivefold. It's wild, and it is. Like there's Instagram and ease of access with free email, obviously, and cell phones, and just the convenience of them, and then images being able to be sent so quickly, and which obviously is so obvious, but it really wasn't like that for so many years, and it's been like it's been totally exponential. Each year is like double the next, into the next, into the next. I made more boards this summer than I did the year previous, and then each year just keeps stacking more and more. So the hard part,
be prepared for the swell season bump.
Yeah, well,
sales,
there
right?
better be. But the point is that it's becoming increasingly harder to navigate all these different areas, and it's not the navigating, it's like corralling it. So it'll be like DM, all right, great, yeah, that's awesome, that'll be really fun, I'd love to do that for you, email me. Okay, great, okay, this is the email, and then I can email, right, and then it's like, okay, let's jump on the phone now too. It's like, okay, we'll jump on the phone. So between the DM, the email, and the phone call, that's a fair amount of content and a bunch of just development, and like I wouldn't really go that far into a DM, but sometimes I do, just because it's like in reference to a photo and I give my time. But so there's so many areas to give time through. I'm not getting paid on any of that, obviously.
Yeah.
And a lot of times board building is like you get paid the shaping fee and you get a small profit, but it's pennies compared to really what most places it would be, like cabinetry or just building any craft space kind of like economy. But that's changing too, I think, a little bit. So the hard part is like how to engage with a shaper and to understand that like their time is like valuable, and though they would love to talk about surfboards all day every day, sometimes it's a bit obnoxious to be like harassed, and that sometimes it is. And I have this theory too that like with surfboards and surfing, a lot of times it draws like successful, smart people, right? And highly critical people that like are really good at their job, or they're really good at CrossFit, or they're really good at something or another. And a lot of times, like ordering a custom board, it's out of their control, and that's nerving for some people. So they have to kind of have that element of control. So that's tough, is to like, you know, deal with like the DM to the email to the text to the phone call to then back to the email. I had some guy start like 6 email threads regarding one board.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and like you lose details, or you lose that one part in there. So I think that's like the big thing, is to be respectful of people's time and like understand that, like, make it easy for them. Think about what you want, communicate it as best you can through one avenue of communication, and then from there, like, take it away. And usually Shaper's pretty good.
I feel like we should do some tutorial YouTube videos on how to order, what to do and what not to do.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Yeah. Check out my comments on my YouTube channel, but then also DM me through YouTube DMer. It's insane, but listen, it's great. It's incredible. I'm like blessed to have the business that I do, and I have a really great like client base, whatever that's worth. I really do. I have like repeat people that get 3 to 4 boards a year, and that's very rare. And that's the cohort I want to make boards for. I should make that very clear. It's like, I'm an involved, committed person. That's it. Like, when you get me, for better and for worse. And I've gotten better at saying no to certain people. You know, I think like I've started to smell that when it comes in, and it's obvious.
What's a no?
Hey, when they bud me, when they throw like a "hey bud," which is fine, but like the bud is kind of like an off-putting like opening line, and I'm getting into the weeds here, but that's one. So like the salutation should be like, "Hey man," "Hi," "Hey friend," like, or "Hey Charles." You don't have to call me professor, but like throwing the bud out there is one. Questioning like a deposit process is kind of like a get the fuck out of here. No. And I've had that. Do you have any boards I can demo? Like I'm not gonna put a deposit down. I'm not interested in really kind of talking, but I want to like, give me what you have. Give me that. That's kind of like a, man, that's weird, right? Like, what other world does that exist in? And like, not only that, but if it does that exist in like the small handmade artisanal world? No. Ski, but again, like Rozzy is sending 20 sets of skis of fat wingtip ones, whatever, at a promo. Not me hand shaping, hand painting, hand laminating for my wife. And I'm like, oh, you can take my wife's Simmons, but it's a gloss polish, so like just keep it in the bag, don't scratch it. Like, it don't work like that. Like, I'm not getting like mold pressed surfboards at like a dime rip. Like, it's a lot. You know?
I would like to play devil's advocate, though.
Yeah, there is, and I know.
Here we go, devil.
If you had your collection of boards for the year.
And I do.
Not glossed and polished, whatever. Just the bare bones.
I don't have gloss polished boards. I've done maybe 3 glosses my whole life. I should say that, too. Yeah.
It wouldn't be a bad thing to try to sample the product first.
Now, Johnny's probably the guy that asked for the demo. First of all, we're gonna call him out. And guess what? You ready for it? For Johnny, I'll do the demo. I will. And for anyone that's worth,
I bought a board off clams.
Of course you have.
In the water.
Yeah. Poor Joe. But I'm gonna say right now. I'm gonna quickly say right now. There's tons of people I don't know from Adam that say, yo, I saw a Simmons in the water. That's awesome. Give me that thing. What do you got for me to try, bud? And I'm like, I don't know you.
Right.
I don't know where this is going. I don't even understand like what you're really asking for. And this is the complex answer. The complex answer is, say you want a board for me, right? And like, let's do it right now. What's height Simmons would be good for you?
5'0". Come
on.
5'3".
5'3". Yeah. So if we'd have to go wide, we'd have to go like 21 and a half, 21 and 3/4. Guess what? Mine's 5'8" by 20 by 2.5 because it's for my wife because I don't have one right now. Johnny rides it. Tyler, what does Johnny say about the 5'8", 20, 2.5?
I think it might go well in a 5'3".
No, he'll say it's a little too long. Ooh, the width is pretty, and then like it's really too thin, so it didn't paddle that well. And as Boggin turns, he goes to the boys.
I couldn't do my air 360.
And he tells the boys, it caught on the reverse section of the reverse. And so like I give you a product that's not exact for you, and usually it doesn't work out, and usually it drills in you and embeds this like, man, that design doesn't work. Whereas, no, it works fine. It's just not tailor-made to you. Right. You know what I mean? So
also, this is your side hustle.
Yeah.
That's the other
Yeah.
thing. This
Yeah.
you don't
But
you don't this is not your main bread and main
it
staple.
is and isn't. You know, I don't think anyone has the full opportunity to be a millionaire board builder or to make a 6-figure salary at a board building. So everyone's grinding some other facet.
Yeah.
Even if they tell you that they're exclusively only making surfboards, they're running a glassing operation. They're running contract glassing. They're doing side ghost shaping. They're maybe even repairing dings.
Yeah.
So it's not that it isn't or is it. It's just that I treat it that it is,
Yeah.
and I take it seriously. And some of those like requests and those kind of like unrealistic expectations of communication just inhibit me and make my life harder. And
But you are also not like, oh, I need to get more sales so much. Like, I think you probably have a limit of how many sales
yeah, like who's gonna say like no, I don't want more opportunity and more market share, and like there's no doubt most people have a very hard time saying no. I selectively am looking at like what's going to be worth my time and what's not.
Yeah.
And it's taken me so many years of shit eating to get to this point to realize like, oh, this is a bad idea. Like this is a board that needs to be handmade here, but then shipped to San Francisco, and then it's got like a full like. There's just certain requests that are out of control.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a broken board that's from 1992. It's a great board, but I don't know. I haven't surfed in 10 years because I have a back surgery, and I'm really and like that's what you get, and you're indulging like whim and fantasy, and
You should start charging therapy fees.
yeah.
Well, one of my questions was professionally on your title, which comes first?
Professor, instructor of English, or associate professor of English, because it is what I'm first into, and like as much as it used to be lifeguard because that was my first career,
Yeah.
and it really was like that was the first thing that got me into this. It was like, oh wow, the lifeguarding lets me be in the ocean, it lets me be around, and then I said, what can I do that'll keep me lifeguarding? And it was teaching, and I'm like, all right, what part of teaching is going to allow me to like do as much as I can and get the max amount of pay? And that would be kind of an instructorship at a college. So yeah, the first and foremost is the teaching, and then after that the board building, you know, for professions.
Do you think they would ever swap?
Oh.
Yeah, Rebecca and I talk about it all the time, and like I've got 3 young kids. The benefits and the healthcare is like undeniably essential. We've paid nothing to have 3 kids, which is a luxury. And you know, my daughter got an abscess pulled yesterday, a tooth pulled yesterday, and it was, you know, it wasn't nearly what it would have been. And life happens, man. And God willing, you know, if something else happens, it's nice to have that. And
Bernie 2020.
Board building's toxic. Well, yeah. Well, that's it. And like, I'll see. You know, but for now, it works. Like the schedule works great. Like I grind. I work a pretty long week. You know, depending on the season. But to be honest, now it's like board building used to be hot, summers only, or you know, Christmas rush. But now it's all the time. It's
all year round.
All year round. There's
Now,
no lull.
As a lifeguard, and we were going back. I don't know if this was in this episode or our previous one before we started recording. On your Surf Splendor one, you talk about one of the heavy rescues.
Yep.
It was after our season, and there were those girls who went out, and you guys were just hanging at the beach.
No, so
You weren't.
Postseason, right?
It was postseason.
Post. Were they swimming, or did they get swept out from walking along the shoreline?
Mm-mm. Probably wading. They were, I think, Jehovah Witnesses.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and I don't know. I think they were Jehovah Witnesses, an Orthodox Christian kind of sect, and I think they were like swimming in like skirts and like shirts. Like they were just like not beach people, but they wanted to get wet. It was like a perfect September day, mid-September.
Hot.
Exactly.
For our listeners, we're referencing a story that Charles had discussed on Surf Splendor podcast about a rescue. Just want to let our listeners know.
Yeah. So the context is that off season, the liability insurance ends Labor Day. Once that ends, there is like a Samaritan element to each of these municipalities to realize, holy shoot, it's still beautiful out in September in New Jersey, big surprise, and we have to offer something, anything. And so usually what we used to do was just have police respond, and these guys would get down in their undies and jump in, and it was insane. It's insane. So then they held us on, and they'd pay you the hourly rate to do that, and it was worth it when you were 22, 23.
Yeah.
But it then slowly you realize like this is so not worth it, and the responsibility and the horror of that position of like pumping surf, a bluebird offshore days, and people just running to the beach, you know,
Right.